So some of you guys are asking about where the numbers come from. So a lot of them comes from a game called Vasa, and the Vasa game will give you certain numbers of how many ships and give you some lore and some breakdowns and power levels and things of that nature. And I've used that for when I don't have data from the show. So what I'm doing here is I'm taking their information and putting in there a lot of the times. But sometimes, like for an example with the Norway class, it says there's only 26 of these ships. So that doesn't really compute with what we see on screen or what was happening during the Dominion War. So I find it highly unlikely that only 26 of this small 660 metric ton starship was constructed during the Dominion War and post the Borg. I feel that there were a lot more constructed. So the next thing I would do is I would go to other resources and see what they say. So the Daystrom Institution is another resource, and the reason why I use it as a secondary backup resource is when my first primary resource gives me a number that seems rather low, I will go with this because they have much larger ship construction ratios, and they're more in line with the Dominion War, in my opinion. So with older ships, I don't agree with the numbers that they have here because I don't think that the numbers were being produced in the past that they were right before the Dominion War and obviously pre-Borg. So this is let's kind of give it an idea about Dominion War numbers, but I don't agree with a lot of the numbers that they give sometimes. Okay, so when it comes to the Kirk era starships, I want exact data. I'm using Starfleet's reference manual, Ships of the Fleet, Volume 1, 2, and 3. So that's my primary resource. I will typically take the numbers from that. But if it's like a really off the wall specialty ship, the numbers that are coming from VASA, I'll use them too because on screen you're looking at VASA. And what I'll do with VASA sometimes if I don't agree with the numbers in the magazine is you'll see there's Mark 1, Mark 2, Mark 3, Mark 4, whatever. I'll combine them together and I'll take ships that are very similar, like looking, that have a different name but are basically the same type of ship, and then combine them together. So not VASA, but in the magazine, it'll actually show you data and will tell you how many were constructed and stuff. So we'll zoom in there. This is like, a Kirk era starship. We look at it, and then we're gonna go look. So right there, you see it says number in service 23, number lost. So if I like these numbers, I'll use them. So I'd say there's 23 of these ships, and then that would be my Constitution class ship or whatever it is. So the Lost Era ships, the numbers I think are usually pretty high. So I'm using that other resource. Tells me, lots of numbers. And then for your oddball ships, sometimes I'll just take like these, there'll be 6 of these ships or whatever, weird ships, and I'll just combine them with the Constitution fleet. That's where that 50 came from. Okay. So just to back up and give you guys an understanding. So my opinion, VASA is really good for large starships and uncommon starships to get what I think are more accurate numbers. When it comes to Lost Era starships in the Dominion War, I think the numbers are more reflective and more accurate. That's my secondary resource. If I see it, that's what I'm going for. If I think that this ship is built in large numbers and my VASA is telling me otherwise, then I'll check this one out. And then my last one is for old style ships like Captain Kirk era, the Mirandas, Constitutions, Constellations. I'm taking the information from the manuals, from the Jackson or Jaxel, I don't know how you say this. And those things are all Captain Kirk era, and those are old style starships, and they override what the other ones go. So first I go to VASA, then I go to Daystrom, and then I go to Jackals, whatever that thing is. It's Jacqueline Starfleet reference manuals, and it's ships of the fleet, and there's volume 1, 2, and 3, and I have all of them, and that's where I get all my information. So I try to avoid stuff like first off, if I reading something in like my Star Trek book, like that one that's out, the Star Trek map, or the one that's for Eagle Moths, that'll override anything else that I have that I see. Honestly, that's the other thing is I use that one, but it's very, very limited. But sometimes it'll give you certain data. I'll take that data. It overrides everything else, and then what's missing, I fix with these three. So pretty simple. If you guys wanted to know, that's what I do, and that's how I came up with this imaginary stuff, which you can all take with a grain of salt. With that being said, thank you. Oh, one more thing. So Star Trek role-playing game, the internal structures like Type 2 sensors, Type 2 warp nacelle, all those kind of things that Type 2, Type 2, Type 3, you're going to see in my videos coming up. They are representations of what this game is saying that those components are. And they're basically, there's a whole breakdown of how they work and how they function and how powerful they are and things like that. And and it goes from Type 2, Type 3, Type 4, and Type 5. So when you start hearing that, that's coming from the Star Trek role-playing game. And so I've accommodated those ideas into construction yards because it seemed pretty accurate to me. So just remember, take everything I say with a grain of salt because none of this information is 100% correct. It's all just a guess, and it's just fun, and I am glad to share these experiences with you guys, and I love all you guys' comments, especially when you catch my mistakes. That's my favorite thing. Well, guys, that's the end of my video. I hope this was entertaining, and I hope you guys can enjoy some of my extremely simple animations. Like this is literally like the best that I can do with my skills, but I was so proud of this. I thought this was really fun.